The girl just threw a bone into the dog bowl. The next second, the bone traveled through a time black hole and hit the ancient general on the head. The soldiers thought it was an enemy sneak attack and immediately went on guard. When they saw clearly that the so-called attack was actually a bone with meat on it, the soldiers happily celebrated and sincerely prayed to God for more food, because ever since their last defeat, they had not eaten their fill for half a year. Meanwhile, the girl also stared at the dog bowl in deep thought. Where was the bone? As a modern person with higher education, the girl couldn't understand why the bone vanished into thin air. She decided to run another experiment, so she poured dog food into the bowl. But no matter how much she poured, not a single piece of dog food remained in the bowl. The girl began to feel afraid. How could she have known that this dog bowl was actually a time bridge linking the ancient and modern worlds? And that dog food was continuously pouring out from the bowl in front of the general. The general, seeing the dog food appear again, thought it was food granted once more by angels. So he ordered his men to distribute it among the townspeople. But this food was not enough to save the 100,000 people in the city. What's more, they lacked not only food, but also water. Out of desperation, he prayed again to the angels, hoping to receive more food and water. Unexpectedly, his wish was fulfilled the next second, because water began gushing continuously from the bowl. His men finally reacted and hurriedly ordered the soldiers to collect the water. But the water from the bowl lasted for only one day. The next day, the general knelt before the bowl for several hours, begging the angels to bestow food and water again. But nothing came out of the bowl, and the water from last night was only enough for the people and soldiers to use for 7 days. The general, left with no choice, wrote a letter, burned it, and placed it into the bowl. While thanking the angels, he also begged them to save the 100,000 people in the city. The next day, when the girl woke up, she found the bowl was not yet filled with water. Curious, she leaned closer to take a look. Unexpectedly, black smoke burst out from the bowl and sprayed all over her face. Angry, the girl threw the bowl away, grabbed some dog food, and hurled it in. But no matter how much she threw inside, everything vanished instantly. Little did she know, the dog food she discarded allowed the starving soldiers to eat meat. Looking at the canned dog food in their hands, they immediately became happy. The general even decided to write a letter to the angels with his own blood, explaining his situation, hoping to save the lives of the 100,000 soldiers and civilians. At that moment, the girl wanted to give up, but the next second, a blood-stained letter floated out from the bowl. Seeing the contents of the letter and the name of an unfamiliar country, the girl thought someone was trying to trick her, but she was also afraid that what was written might be true. So she decided to send over all the food her parents had bought when they were still alive. Meanwhile, the general looked happily at the food that appeared again before him. He immediately closed his eyes and silently thanked the angels for their gift. But the food was only enough for the people to use for 3 days. Just as the general didn't know what to do, his subordinates still wanted him to pray again to the angels, begging for more food. But the general refused. He said bluntly that the angels granting this food was already an immense kindness, and how could they dare to ask again? He then decided to use their valuable treasures to thank the angels. Not only bars of gold, each weighing 20 pounds, but also the jade pendant he wore, worth millions of dollars. He placed them all into the bowl. At that moment, the girl was shocked to see gold suddenly appear in the bowl. She instantly became excited, but when she saw the jade pendant, she didn't know what it was, so she decided to take them for appraisal. The next day, the girl took the gold and the jade pendant to an antique recycling shop, asking the shop owner to help her appraise them. When she learned that the gold was real and worth $30 million, the girl immediately rejoiced. Then she took out the jade pendant to check its authenticity. But as soon as the shop owner saw the pendant, he stood up in excitement, because at a glance, he recognized that this pendant was a royal reward from a king 1,000 years ago. He then brought out historical documents about that country to prove his guess. The girl looked at the shop owner in confusion, not understanding why he was so excited. But when the shop owner told her that the pendant was worth at least $500 million, the girl was stunned, her eyes wide open. She looked at the pendant in disbelief. She never imagined it was actually real. But when she read the general's history from the shop owner, she finally believed that everything written in that blood-stained letter was true. After returning home, the girl looked at the treasures that had appeared again and immediately decided to buy supplies for the general. But it would take 3 days for the delivery man to bring the supplies. supplies, so she ran to the supermarket and bought all the supplies inside to send them to the general. Meanwhile, the general, because of the long-term food shortage, could no longer control the starving people. They began rioting, demanding that the general hand over the army's food. The general looked at the pitiful civilians before him and decided to lead them to the bowl. Together, they prayed to the angels to grant them food, but after waiting a long time, no response appeared. Just as the people's patience was about to run out, a golden light suddenly shone from the bowl, and then sacks of rice flew out of it.